Thank you, Paolo. Thank you, Valdis. I will present the joint employment report, which is part of the autumn package. And this year's edition focuses on the impact of COVID-19 on the labor market. It is also for the first time that this report has a forward-looking element to guide the work on the social dimension of member states' recovery and reform plans. And as always, the joint employment report includes the social scoreboard. This is a tool to monitor member states' performance against several indicators. So what are the key messages in the joint employment report? The first is that the pandemic broke a six-year positive trend in employment. And we notice now that the COVID crisis has produced a major shock in the labor markets all over the European Union. 1 year ago, we counted in the EU a record number of 209 million people in employment. By the second quarter of 2020, this number had gone down by 6.1 million people. That means we have lost nearly 3% of our workforce. We know that the quick implementation of short-time work schemes, and Paolo has referred to the importance of the SURE instrument, this has helped to maintain jobs. But we see that the number of hours worked per hour has also fallen substantially, over 10%. Unemployment has increased only moderately, if we can say so, because it increased from 6.5% in March to 7.5% in September. But we are braced for future impact in the coming months. And when we link this increase in unemployment to the number of lost jobs, 6.1 million I just mentioned, we have this effect which we call the discouraged worker effect, because people, given the situation on the labor market, given also the circumstances of the pandemic, people just don't go and look for a job, which has other major consequences also in terms of income, poverty, and so on. The crisis has hit particularly hard workers in non-standard forms of employment, and above all, temporary employees and low-skilled. We have lost 4.1 million temporary contracts. And this shows also, by the way, who are the first victims of this crisis. It's the young, because very many young people are precisely on temporary contracts. And here we see that youth unemployment increased much faster than overall unemployment, because it went from 14.9% to 17.1%. And these are dramatic figures, because we have 5.4 million young people, if I include also the needs in this figure, 5.4 million young people unemployed, looking for a job, or just outside the labor market. And this shows again, and I can only insist on what just Paolo and Valdis have said, this shows that we need the recovery and resilience money, that we need also to launch the ESF Plus, because we proposed already in July the YES program, Youth Employment Support, but the money which is part of this program has to come from the different instruments, financial instruments. We had announced that we could devote about 22 billion to fighting youth unemployment, and therefore now it's really time to adopt these measures, and I just can join in what Paolo has said on this. Now, what can we do by the upskilling and reskilling is key, because we see also that those who are the lowest skilled, and especially also among the young, have the biggest difficulties on the labor market, or have lost their job. And skills and training is also one of the major tools to improve the mismatches which have increased also on the labor market, and to facilitate reallocation of labor force between sectors and activities. Because as we know, some sectors have been hit particularly hard, and and people working in these sectors have to go to other activities, and therefore skilling and reskilling is extremely important. Member States must also invest in strong social protection systems and health systems to contribute to the resilience of our economies and societies. This has obviously also an economic impact, considered as an automatic stabilizer, but it has also a very important, I would say, society impact, because if we are not really providing this social protection and especially also good services in the health systems, well, we will have a major social crisis due to the pandemic. Concerning the vulnerable groups, well, we have seen that especially SMEs in the retail business, in hospitality, suffer a lot from the lockdowns. And obviously also the people working in these sectors are suffering a lot. Also, the sector of culture, of entertainment is nearly closed. And these are people who very often do not benefit from any support. So I would just say also that we have to envisage how we can also give support to these categories of people, self-employed people who have lost the basis of their income. Well, to close here, so fighting poverty remains a major priority, because we have seen after a certain decline in poverty rates, we have now a new surge. And people who never were really in the risk of poverty are now really at the risk of poverty. They are now queuing up for food aid. So the situation in that sense has really become more dramatic. Now, to conclude, what are some of the recommendations of this year's report? First, ensuring that working environments are safe and well adapted to the new social distancing requirements. This is obvious. If we want to keep companies and businesses open, we have to make sure that the working environment is safe. Supporting apprenticeships. This is an investment in our young, and this means also that we have to support SMEs to maintain apprenticeships. Investing in public employment services, which should have a more important role, especially also in providing skilling and reskilling. Reinforcing vocational education and training systems. Supporting large-scale partnerships under the Pact of Skills, which we adopted last week in Berlin. Promoting collective bargaining and social dialogue. I think associating social partners to these big reforms and also to the measures to overcome this crisis is extremely important. Renovating residential and social housing. Well, we can improve the CO2 emissions. We can create rapidly many jobs, especially also for young people in the construction sector. And finally, investing in healthcare system capacity, which has been very much stressed by the situation due to the COVID crisis. Thank you.